Todd, thank you so much for joining me here at LSI Europe.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing, the company you're working with.
Well, Activ Surgical, our foundational technology was, our founder, Dr. Peter Kim, was at Children's National Medical Center in Washington, D.C., and he completed the world's first fully autonomous robotic surgery of soft tissue. And from that, he was approached by some venture and said, hey, we want to make a company out of this, so after the data was published. And in 2017, Activ Surgical, under a different name originally and now Activ Surgical, became a company. And I joined on in January of 2019 as its first CEO. And Activ is basically taking our technology, and it's our algorithm, it's our software, it's advanced visual imaging, and applying it to any laparoscopic procedure, arthroscopic procedure, robotic procedure, and allows physicians in real time to see things that aren't visible during a normal surgery, such as real-time blood flow, real-time key critical structures. From there, we collect de-identified surgical data, video from the procedures. It's annotated by surgeons all over the world, and then it gets into our machine learning algorithm, and all we're doing is we're going to be feeding back additional information live to the screen for our physicians, which will show them key things like veins versus artery, key critical structure identification, key landmines and landmarks that you want to either avoid or go after. I almost consider it like in Waze and GPS. You know, up ahead is an accident, so go a different way. Up ahead is a key landmine or landmark that you want to avoid, so avoid it. And we're basically doing that in real time for our physicians so they can have the opportunity to see that. But first, we're in there for the science and hopefully really preventing readmission rates and some poor outcomes for some patients in many of these procedures.
That's fascinating. So are you tech? Are you hardware? Can you maybe enlighten me a little bit about what you guys offer?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Are you guys robotic? Are you med device? Are you tech? And are you digital? You know, you get it all, and we can be lumped into any place. My background is I've been at large companies, and many were med device companies. The word med tech has been, people throw it around, but there's the med, but is the tech really tech? Mm-hmm. So I like to think we're a med tech technology because we work with robotics, we work with traditional technology. We can be lumped into a robotic category. We own the patents for autonomous robotic surgery. But again, I'm not building a robot. So I believe we're med tech, and we have the medical device, which we're in there with today. And then through our machine learning algorithm and our annotation process and all of that and the insights that we're going to be providing back to our physicians in real time, that's the tech partnerships that we have. So we have great supporters from medical imaging companies like Sony is on our cap table. And then at the same time, we have wonderful partnerships like NVIDIA, who's also on our cap table for our inferencing models and working with our insights as we go forward. So I really do say that we're at the bridge between medical device companies and tech, all coming together, and hopefully Activ Surgical can sit right in the middle and get everyone into the operating room together. That's
an interesting niche to be in. What sort of stage company are you at right now? Are you commercial? How are you guys doing?
Yeah, Activ, we started, thankfully, our limited market release this year in the late spring. And we're a commercial stage organization, and we're out there right now, and we're focusing on key institutions around the US in small batches. We're still calling it a limited market release. We wanted to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our physicians and making sure that we're building the right technology, doing the right software upgrades when you need it. We went through FDA from concept through the FDA in less than 2 years. Of the device and the technology that we're using. So yeah, we're very excited working with some of the key major IDNs in the United States to start, and our CE mark is coming a month from now, October timeframe, and we're excited. We have great partners in Europe already, some great physician advisors in all specialties that have been wonderful advisors and also wonderful people getting ready to begin using the technology in their procedures.
That's very interesting. What's the market opportunity look like for med tech?
Yeah, well, I mean, for Activ Surgical, the reason why it was so compelling to me, again, as I shared, coming from, I cut my teeth at Boston Scientific and had a chance to lead the United States in a division. That was cool. And you get the opportunity. I was the president over at Smith & Nephew, and a wonderful company that gave me great opportunities, and I learned a lot about how to be a president of an organization. And then I was brought over to Olympus in a similar role as the president of Med Device. So I never looked at, okay, I'm going to go to this startup, and it's going to be really this amazing situation until I look at this technology, and this is where the med tech comes in. The third leading cause of death in the world are preventable medical errors, of which 26% of those are preventable surgical errors. That means a patient's on the operating room table and they don't have a terminal disease. They might be getting their gallbladder removed. They might be getting they could be getting a prostatectomy, a colorectal procedure, an esophagus procedure, but procedures that are serious, but not life-threatening. And unfortunately, there's things that a physician doesn't always see, not because the physician's not trained, but not everything is visible to the naked eye. There's critical structures that might be nicked or punctured. Mm-hmm. There is blood flow that might be perceived as being there when it's not, and it's not adequate when you sew something back together. So the opportunity, when you start thinking about the fact that 26% of these preventable medical errors are surgical errors, that's a big deal. Johns Hopkins did a paper, there was over 400,000 deaths annually from preventable surgical errors. And that's something that we need to work on, and with the opportunity to give physicians more opportunity around the world. So to answer the question of the opportunity for medtech, you and I could be sitting here right now and I could do a surgical procedure here in London, in England. In London, we're outside of London, but here in England. My data from my procedure can be helping physicians all around the world because it gets annotated with a bunch of other data from physicians. And the information that I have, I could be a world expert. I could be sharing this information when the screen goes on and someone's using Activ site technology with someone that's done 2 or 3 procedures. But that patient should have the confidence that their physician has the same information that I do on every single case. So my data gets to be shared with everybody around the world. So hopefully that's where the med tech opportunity is. It truly can democratize surgery in the sense there's over 3 billion patients worldwide that have no access to medical care, which there's also a shortage of surgeons. So that doesn't mean every surgeon is of equal skill. And even if they were, they're not of equal practice, because some places you can do 500 procedures a year, others you can do 5. The surgeon that's doing 5, we want to make sure has the same information that the surgeon's doing 500, and that's something that this technology and med tech can do. The medical device and then the technology assessment that goes with it.
It's exciting that the technology that you and other companies are developing is making it easier to bring parity up for surgeons throughout the world, improving patient outcomes. It's really great to see. Tell me a little bit about what's coming next for Activ Surgical. What's the future roadmap look like?
Sure. So the nice thing is we start with what we call Activ Site. Activ Site is a small device that attaches between a camera and a scope in a laparoscopic or arthroscopic procedure. Those are being used today in our first limited market release. Both robotic procedures are being done. About 40% of our procedures have been done robotically to visualize things that you can't with the robot today. Robot's great. We're not competing with robots. We're not competing with scopes. The goal is we work with them all to hopefully give the enhanced vision to the surgeon and information that they can't get from the existing technology, and they can take all the advantages of their wonderful scope technology and robotic technologies of the original reason they purchased it. But so Activ Site is basically the opportunity to see blood flow perfusion in real time, anytime that you want. And that's not the way that surgery is done today. There's no way to see it in real time. You inject a dye today, and it's very effective. It's been around for 70 years. But once you inject the dye, no matter what happens in the procedure, it's no longer real time until all that dye disappears from the patient or dissipates and comes out. You can't really tell if there's active blood flow or there's not active blood flow. Our Activ Site allows you to see that in real time. You can clamp a vessel, it'll show you the blood stopped. You can unclamp it, it'll show you in real time it hasn't. With a dye, it stays the same color the whole time, whether you clamp or unclamp, and all you're seeing is the dye color. That's not a knock on it. That's just why medical technology comes out, to enhance and see new things. Then, like I said before, we're collecting the next phase is the insights, and we're starting to see key critical structures in cases. We're doing prostatectomy procedures, and we're able to see what's called the neurovascular bundle when you're identifying nerves. The number one complication, or one of the complications, is a side effect of a prostatectomy. We're removing prostate cancer. 1 in 6 men have this issue at some point, and if you can remove the prostate and get the whole cancerous tissue out, that's preferable. But unfortunately, one of the side effects is you can clip some of the nerves along the side, and that damages a patient's function, future ED, and what have you. So many patients don't choose to get a prostatectomy, they choose to get localized chemo. If you can, with a technology like we're showing, that we can see what's called the neurovascular bundle and the landmark artery, if you can show this in real time to a physician, it's almost like lane assist. You're in your lane. If you go out of your lane, it's gonna buzz like your car steering wheel may, or your seat. We're staying in lane assist so the doctor can continually monitor to make sure that they're staying away from the nerves as they're removing the prostate. And patients, hopefully, at the end of the day, can get a full prostatectomy and know that they've retained their function. And those types of things are happening right now. That becomes Activ insights. And as we're collecting more and more data, we're sharing things, like I said, venous flow versus arterial flow, other key critical structures, anatomies, ureter identification, what's called critical view of safety identification, of which we're seeing with our science. But as you continue to do the machine learning algorithm, those are our insights. And then what's called Activ Assist is where we started from. We actually can program and work with the robotic technology to make sure that the robotic imaging systems know exactly where they are. They know the distance from a scope to an instrument, from an instrument to a landmark, and we can measure that distance inside. And then we get to what's called Activ Pilot, which is our foundational technology of autonomous robotic procedures that basically with the press of a button we can complete certain parts of a function surgery autonomously.
Wow.
And so we're focusing, hard focus on Activ Sight and Activ Insight right now, because the market globally, there's over 50 million procedures that are done annually right now that for just traditional perfusion identification, whether laparoscopic or open procedures. The opportunity to see blood flow, which is the first principle of surgery, know where the patient's bleeding, is a great opportunity for us.
So is your technology then compatible with all forms of laparoscopic, endoscopic devices?
Yeah, the beautiful thing now is in the rigid scopes and laparoscopes. So again, coming from a company like Olympus and Karl Storz and Stryker, those technologies are wonderful technologies, all of those companies. Other companies like Arthrex or Smith & Nephew, whether they're in orthopedics or laparoscopic, ConMed, companies that make these systems, yes, you can have an Activ image module, an Activ Sight image module can work seamlessly between the cameras and the scopes, and basically they retain all their superpowers, the scope. When you press the button on an Activ image module, we go through our own light engine at that point, so you're seeing the overlay or a contrast view that shows you the perfusion, that shows you the colors, the map, so you know exactly where something's bleeding or not, or key critical structure. When you take your hand off of the button, you're right back to the system that you bought and cherished from those companies. You're watching your view right through their processors and there. So it's strictly a pass-through, and we're not interfering or doing everything we can to not interfere with why the hospitals purchased those technologies in the first place.
So the device agnostic approach you might say you have, has it helped with adoption and scaling?
Yeah, it helps in the sense that right now, there's been a big three in laparoscopic technology. It's been Karl Storz, Stryker, Olympus. It's very hard to move the needle in market share points. And it's also, there's a lot of loyalty, and rightfully so. And the fact that we can walk in, and I'm not trying to sell a scope and a tower to compete with them, because that's really hard to do, and I'm not sure that's really a necessity. They have great technologies. But the opportunity to take my system and work with them to take the benefits that they offer and then enhance it with advanced visualization that they're not offered anywhere else. It's not because they don't have it. Thankfully, Activ Surgical has it, a technology that's patented and through our own protected device. And our form factor allows us to go interchangeably between many systems. And then the fact that it's starting to be used in robotics, and they're just actually taking it. The doctors are willing to utilize this technology through an accessory port right now to visualize blood flow in real time or key critical structure that they can't see. And we've been blown away by the early success in robotics. That wasn't going to be our early target. We know we work with robots, but we're doing some co-development with some of these companies. But before we even have to do that, we're working in multiple robotic cases as we speak.
You've launched in the US, you have partners already here in Europe that you're looking to bring your technology to the market here. What brings you to LSI Europe?
Well, it's interesting. I thought the technology, or the program, was outstanding. I was in Dana Point in early 2020, and we were raising at the time. And I know that a lot of companies my size or our size come to a conference like this to raise money. I come to look for partners. Thankfully, we're not actively raising right now, but I don't believe in just running in meetings, whether it's a VC or private equity, day one and say, hey, I need some money. Can you help me out? And I like to build a relationship. There's so much talent and people that have skills that I don't have. That, when I look to raise money, I'm not really looking for the money. Up until now, when the capital markets were a problem, money was fairly easy to get before in our last raises. It was the partners that were not always the easiest. So they're interviewing me, and at the same time, it gives me an opportunity to interview them and say, hey, guys, I have a ton of weaknesses. You can help me here. You can help me here. How do you make me better, help a company? I look for partners that we can really talk about global commercialization. We can talk about strategy of distribution opportunities and really where the technology is going versus just talking about our next raise or babysitting the money that we have. So I really, to meet plenty of new investors, also talk to different companies and strategics that we work with and we're interested in, different technologies that are out there as well. I can start building that relationship and I can find out how many of these people can help make me better both as a leader and in our company, how they can help our company. So that's why I came, and I have an opportunity to be on a panel, which I'm excited to do, and then present Activ Surgical just to continue the talk track.
Tell me a bit about the panel that you're going to be on.
Well, I'm on the panel with it's robotic innovation. Like I said, we get thrown into in robotic innovation with some companies that are doing robotics. I'm not doing robotics. We work with robotics, and so it's always good to hear what the technology is doing. Joe Mullings is the moderator of the panel, and I know Joe. Joe's been a great supporter of Activ Surgical. Coincidence that he's the moderator. We didn't set each other up. Let's pick these people, and I'm looking forward to just. Okay, you have a robot. Now what? And that's really what the panel is almost, okay, just by having a robot, is that enough? Maybe it is. And I think it gives people the opportunity to have those conversations of what, in addition to the robot, is needed for the patients. What do the outcomes look like? What are the clinical benefits? Do we need advanced visualization? Do we need AI? What do I get from my existing robot? What can I get for the future? And what's the industry looking like in the future in the next 5 or 10 years? So.
Well, I'm looking forward to following what you're doing over at Activ Surgical and your company's progress. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate the opportunity. I enjoy the conference. It's nice to sit down and have a conversation with you. LSI does a great job. And I think at the end of the day, I just like to think people keep an open mind about technology. And I've been in the big medical companies, and a lot of us always believe that if it's not invented here, it's not invented anywhere. And our baby, don't call my baby ugly. We're never calling anyone's baby ugly. We want to take their babies and allow their babies to even flourish and grow more. We have more skill sets. By using your baby and you put my little thing on there, we can make sure that we're working together with my technology, with your technology, and we can give our physicians the best outcomes in the future. And then we're very excited. I believe that a lot of people say AI is the future or data is the future. Those, as I've said many times before, those are bumper stickers. Everyone says that, but what does it really mean? AI is a lot more than just all of a sudden we're going to annotate and get all this information and start feeding it back. It starts with computer vision and sensing, and that's what Activ Surgical does, computer vision and sensing. And through our annotation process and machine learning algorithm, we're going to be able to provide this information, but it takes time for every company to do it. And so we make sure that we're here to help both healthcare companies as well as doctors and patients, and that's why we believe. And then we're also going to bring these technology companies, like great partners at NVIDIA and Microsoft that we have, and bring them to the operating room as well. So hopefully we're the perfect marriage of like I said, med device and technology, and we're right in the med tech space.
Todd, thank you so much for stopping by for the interview.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.